We have Grandmaster Jan Nepomniachtchi taking on Arjun Erigaisi here. It's going to be a very interesting clash. Jan lost to Vincent Keimer in the match yesterday and now takes on another youngster, Arjun. They shake hands and off we go. Jan is thinking about this position, the freestyle position, pawn to c4. He opens it up and look at this. The bishop is directly attacking the h7 pawn. The queen is also opened up. Let's see what Arjun Erigaisi does next now. He plays his pawn to c6. Very interesting choice, because if you take on h7, he wants to take on h2. Let's see if Jan takes it. No, he decides to avoid it. He plays knight to g3. And Arjun now has to decide. He also brings his knight out to g6 to prevent bishop takes h7. And Jan now pushes his pawn to d4. With this move, Arjun goes for the Slav setup with d5. And Jan very quickly takes space on the queen side with c5. Now black can already strike in the center with e5, but Arjun is more ambitious. He wants to play e5 with the pawn on f6, so that if white takes, he wants to recapture back with the pawn. Jan plays his pawn up to e3. He creates this pawn structure. I guess e5 looks very logical now, and Arjun could very well play it. But he first decides to short castle here, which is nothing but the change of positions between the rook and the king. And Jan decides to now stop e5 with f4. Although, truth be told, e5 is still possible. But Arjun decides to play e6. Maybe what he did not like is that after e5, f5, the knight is kind of pushed. So e6, and Jan castles it out as well here as white. And Arjun now brings his knight to e7. Black does look a little bit cramped for space. But if you look carefully, you will see that this bishop is active. This bishop could be activated from g6. The knight could come to f5. Queen goes to c8. So Arjun is looking to put his knight on f5 perhaps. He goes knight to d3, eyeing the e5 square. And Arjun now decides to play his knight to h4. He's angling to put one of his knights on the f5 square. And Jan continues his expansion. He goes a4 on the queen side. a5 played here by Arjun. Maybe not the best move. Maybe knight hf5 was better. But he decides to play a5. And Jan takes it, and you cannot take the pawn because the bishop is controlling it now. So Arjun's idea is to take it back with the bishop here. That's his plan. Bishop takes a5, and he would be then able to attack the a4 pawn. Bishop comes to c2, and I believe taking here makes a lot of sense. Take. You just have to be a little careful that after queen e1, there's no attack on a5 and h4, but Arjun decides to first bring his bishop to this diagonal. Jan gets his rook, and I guess it's time now to take this. Instead, he goes knight f5. It's fine because he's also attacking the e3 pawn. So the knights are going to get traded here. Knight takes f5, and taking back with the knight makes a lot of sense as you attack the e3 pawn once again. Yes, he takes, knight takes f5. And now e3 is hanging. Also a5 is under pressure. So Jan comes back and plays queen to e2, defending e3. You can see how Yan has more time on the clock, but now Arjun must take on a5. It's very important, but he goes for something very subtle. He goes knight f7, knight h6, maybe to go knight f7 and e5 later. But Yan now plays an incredible move, rook b6. What a move this is! And he tells Arjun that sorry, now you can't take the pawn on a5. Knight comes to f7. Arjun does not pick up the rook. The main point is that if you take here, I take back with the c pawn. Knight comes to c5. So knight f7. He goes bishop to c3. And now rook comes to e8, threatening to push e5 at some point. And Yan plays his queen to d2, just coming out of the e file. You can already feel the pressure brewing here. Bishop takes on b6. A takes b6. And look at this structure. Arjun goes queen d7, connecting his rooks. And Yan pushes forward with a5. A great move. Even though black is an exchange up, white has all the space available in the position. Goes pawn to h3. His idea is to push forward with g4. And bishop e4. Maybe not g4, but it's just a useful move, this pawn to h3. It goes bd1, is putting the bishop now on e2, and maybe the knight will jump to b4 and then a6. White is slowly and steadily doing his stuff, and I think Arjun must sooner or later break with e5, but it's so well protected, that square. Knight comes to f2, attacking the e4 pawn. The bishop goes back to g6. And now the bishop comes to e2. The idea now is to push forward with a6 and create a passer here on the b file. He pushes forward with e5, and this is exactly what Arjun wants. Some counter play to come in. Yan just takes on e5. Pawn takes on e5. And he jumps forward with his knight to g4, attacking the pawn on e5 here. Pushing e4 won't help because that would just close down the position. So bishop h5 played. If you play knight takes e5, then after knight takes, pawn takes, bishop e2, queen e2, and queen takes c5, black is completely fine. So bishop is on h5, and Yan now pushes his pawn to a6. A beautiful move, creating a passer. Now if you take b takes a6, then after rook f7, maybe queen f7, knight e5, c6 pawn is also weak. So instead Arjun goes knight g5. He allows the white pawn to go to a7. This is, I think, the critical mistake, like the final mistake of the game, and Yan is like, thank you so much, Arjun, for giving me this beautiful pawn chain. Knight comes to e4, attacking the bishop and the queen. This is not going to help now. Just queen c2, queen e1. Yeah, just defending the bishop here. He goes rook f8. Well, you want to take on e5, but there is bishop e2, right? So, and then the c3 bishop would hang. So he takes on f8. And after rook f8, plays his bishop back to b2. Just keeping this away from the knight. Now threatening knight takes e5. Queen comes to g5. Now he's attacking the e3 pawn. But it's not, it's defended by the knight, and if you take on g4, I can take bishop takes g4, bishop f3 played by Yan. Yan basically understands that his position is totally winning and he doesn't have to try too many things here. Bishop takes g4, and just take it back with the bishop. It's completely fine. I mean, when you have a pawn on a7, you have compensation forever, literally. So bishop takes g4 has been played. And now h5, trying to create some play on the king side with the knight, rook and queen. But bishop comes back to f3. Very important move, because if rook takes f3, you can simply make a queen here. He goes queen g6. Maybe it's now time to take off the knight, because the knight is quite a pesky creature, so he takes it. Queen takes possible, also d takes e4 possible. And he takes, queen takes e4, d takes e5 played, and he's going to put his bishop on d4, after which everything will be protected, and the queen will later on join the game from somewhere. So king h7, he plays his bishop to d4, very strong. The bishop stands on d4, and then later a8 queen is something that you have to enable. Now queen f5 played by Arjun, hoping for some counter play here. e6 played. Yan gives up one pawn, which is logical to open up his bishop. And now after queen takes e6, you can simply go queen g3, threatening a mate in 1. Plays it queen to g3, and also another idea is queen b8 followed by queen. Arjun is running out of moves. Yan Nepomniachtchi has played a beautiful game here, making absolutely no errors. He plays his queen to g6, offering a trade of queens. Even a move like this should be winning, but he goes queen c7, and it was also maybe possible to go queen b8, but then there was check, king h2 and rook f1, and that would have been risky. So queen c7 keeps an eye on g7, and after h4 he can simply chop off this pawn. He goes queen e7, attacking f8 and h4. That's also a great move, and everything's falling apart here for Arjun. I think this is game over, and Arjun resigns. Yan Nepomniachtchi wins an amazing game. Let's hear what the players have to say.